Okay, we are connected and live on all four platforms. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of the Daily Sib where it's 8 in the evening, or just gone 8 in the evening in the UK, and it's midday on the west side of the USA. And we're going to be talking all about inclusive worlds and smart cities with Dr. Victor Pineda. So thank you for joining me, Victor.
It's an honor, Mark. I'm a huge fan of your work.
Likewise, man. There's some real mutual respect going on, and I think we got about 20 minutes to chat. I have a feeling we could probably go for hours if we were able to. So we'll be very efficient with our time today. But I'm really excited to have you on.
Likewise, and I want to set special shout out to all your followers and your fans that are listening with us. I think more than now we have to stick together and ensure that we are supporting each other and our colleagues and our fans and our listeners and folks that follow you. I think have a really unique role to play in the way that we build our cities in the future.
I totally agree. It's a weird time at the moment, and we'll come on in a second to the kind of the now and the COVID world, and maybe it's a chance to rebuild things with disabled people more at the center of the conversation. But I mean, Victor, you're a powerhouse. Like everywhere I go, everyone I meet, they always said to me, "Have you met Victor yet?" And I'm like, I've seen him all over social media. I've read a lot of his stuff. But it was about 3 weeks ago, I think, when we first connected, obviously, to prep for today's interview. But I mean, can you just share with my viewers some of the awesome stuff that you've been up to in recent times?
Yeah, well, Martin, I think that for all of us, we have our own story, our own disability origin story, or just a story where we realize that we got to step in. I've been lucky enough to have been one of the youngest members to help negotiate the UN Convention of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. I was nominated twice by President Barack Obama to the U.S. Federal Access Board. I'm a professor of urban planning and lecturer here at the University of California at Berkeley, and I run something called the Global Compact and Campaign for Inclusive and Accessible Cities through my nonprofit World Enabled.
So just some small, tiny details of awesome, world-changing goings on there. I mean, have you met Barack? I have to ask you. Have you been in the room as Barack?
I actually was invited to the White House and I was nominated to serve in this position, but I haven't had the honor of actually meeting with him. But I think that when we look to leadership, we want to be able to support leaders that have a common sense of what justice and dignity is, and I was very honored.
Of course,
yeah. I was able to serve his administration.
That's an amazing opportunity. I mean, obviously, with the United Nations Convention that you mentioned, like for you, what role and purpose does this UN Convention for Persons with Disabilities have as a way that we can move forward and see that wider change that we're looking for in the world?
When you asked me to speak, you asked me a question about what does an inclusive world really look like.
Yeah.
And I think that the UN Convention did that. It actually described what that world would look like in terms of, equal opportunities and basic human dignities and basic human freedoms. And the depth and the breadth of this enforceable treaty is remarkable. 180 countries have signed or ratified this treaty. 1 billion people, 1 out of 7 people on the planet are in a sense protected by this enforceable human rights instrument. And you could actually take your government to to court or petition your government to ensure that you are afforded these rights if your country has ratified this treaty. But I think more than anything, it provides not only like what we need to do, but it provides governments a way to figure out on their own terms how they're going to do it. So it's really important that we work with the private sector, with the academia, with civil society, with the with media, and with filmmakers and others to sort of create that narrative. And if you don't know what rights you have or what an inclusive world should look like, you can download the document, the convention. I don't recommend it because it's very legalistic. I do recommend the child-friendly version,
Okay.
which we published with UNICEF. And the child-friendly version is called "It's About Ability."
It's
And
about
so you can learn all about it. I'll put it on the chat box. Learn about the UN Convention through
Cool.
publication. It's About Ability.
It's about ability. Awesome.
That's
And
a
I mean, so how, because you mentioned that you say you're a professor, right, at the University of Berkeley, was it?
yes.
So how did you get into becoming in academia and becoming a professor, and how has that overlapped with the work under Obama and now the helping with the UN Convention? Obviously, much more moving us now into the the smart cities work you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I think I was just going to say that the important aspect here is that this is a multi-dimensional problem, and we're not going to solve it with just research, right? Likewise, we're not going to solve it with just advocacy.
Yeah.
We're not going to solve it with just public policies. It's really going to be about how we create sort of those interconnections between various different communities and stakeholders that allows us to solve these major problems. So I had been doing my undergraduate at Berkeley in political economy, looking at the relationship between power and wealth and also business administration. And I realized that we needed to figure out a way to really grow both prosperity and opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that my master's, which was focused on regional economic development, was missing the social policy formulation. Because you can have a wealthy country that has very poor social policies or underdeveloped social policies, but then once those social policies are put into place, you have both economic vitality and social development. That's, for example, a place like the United Arab Emirates that really kind of had developed economically, didn't have as many social policies in place early on. And over the last 5 years, we helped work with them on the Dubai disability strategy, and they've really sort of made huge progress on sort of moving towards the world's most accessible city, right? So my academic background and training allowed me to provide much more detailed policy recommendations and interventions.
Yeah.
And my advocacy side allowed me to see how important it is to really create participation and inclusion in the process.
That makes a lot of sense. And so with smart cities, I mean, it sounds very sci-fi. I sort of see Back to the Future when I think of smart cities. Like, for you, again, sort of similar to talking about the United Nations Convention. I mean, for you, what is a smart city for people that aren't really clear on that? And why do you think that's such a powerful way of being able to create an inclusive world?
Yeah, of course, Mark. I think the most important thing is to realize that a smart city, you can't be a smart city if you're not an accessible city. You can't be a smart city if you're not an inclusive city.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't be a smart city if you're not a city that engenders really participation and provides people choices and opportunities to live lives that they value. So a smart city ultimately is, a geography, a place that creates, leverages technology in order to increase or improve people's lives. But it's not too often that we ensure that those technologies leave no one behind. So my colleague James Thurston at G3ICT and I got together and decided to join forces as a technology policy leader, myself as an urban planner, and we launched an initiative called Smart Cities for All.
Yeah, I just shared the link now for everybody watching. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with me on the chat. So is that quite a recent initiative that you've launched?
Yeah, over the last 4 years, really changed the conversation around smart cities and really ensure that they become more inclusive, accessible, and also responsive to older persons and persons with disabilities.
I've got a question for you from the audience. It's Chris Wood, who said earlier on actually that he's pleased to see the Daily Sib going across time zones with yourself, Victor. But his question is, apparently he met and heard you speak last year at the ARTA conference in Dubai, and he was impressed how much work is being done in the UAE for accessibility. And have you had that exact same impression, Victor?
Yeah, it's great to see you, Chris. And it's good that you mentioned the issue of the YATA conference, because in the UAE, I had a roommate in college, a floor mate at a dorm at the International House in Berkeley, and he was from the UAE. And he said, "Wow, we're doing some really exciting things. You should somehow, get involved." And that was in 2000. And I started going back in 2007 and 2000 to 2010. And I'm doing my doctoral research in the UAE. And I realized under the Fulbright that here was a place that had tremendous ambition and vision, but they weren't on the track early on the disability issue. So, an example of sharing knowledge, creating relationships, and in essence, shaping the future development of that nation state and that territory. And that was a tremendous honor to do that. That work we did there was then moved up to the federal level. And the Dubai strategy that I helped co-write with my colleague, Sandra Willis, became federal laws as well.
Wow. So it's really just the way that a smart city must include everybody, otherwise it's a rather not smart city if anyone is left out. But it's been about having that concept in the sort of DNA of government and societal level that it drives from that design point of view, that everybody is included in all of the decisions and the policies around how the world is developing, and particularly in Dubai, that's what they've seemingly implemented, correct?
Correct.
That's brilliant. Right. Well, I'm wary of our time, Victor. We've got about 4 minutes by my clock till 1:30.
We can go a little bit more. I think the most important thing to leave the audience with is, we each have a role to play in terms of thinking about our immediate community, our families, our neighborhoods, our schools, our places of worship. And the question that we have is, what is the world that we want to build? You don't have to build the whole world. You just have to build your own little nook in the world and share that vision with others. So if you're able to connect with others and inspire others and mobilize others to see the world through your eyes, that vision catches on. And I think now more than ever, with this COVID, we have been witnessing the vulnerabilities that have been made apparent. We're not at higher risk as people with disabilities to COVID just because. We're at higher risk because of the systemic failures of our environments and our policies and the ways that we've designed our cities, to not really look at various other dimensions of human functioning in human life. And my goal and my mission is to really expand that notion of what that human condition can be, and what are the kinds of cities that need to be built to respond to that human diversity.
That's a really good takeaway for everyone, because I think what you said about the government policy side, particularly in Dubai and the UAE, is obviously that's big structural change, that sort of impact on a huge level. And I think what's amazing about what you've just said is that for many people, we don't have the ear of the government. We don't feel very empowered by the current government. Different countries, different political parties, but there can be that sense. But actually what you're saying is that if every individual paints a picture of that vision that they want to see, and they start to take those little actions in their own life and then affect and influence the people around them, in a way the two meet in the middle, the top down and the bottom up, right?
That's right. And I'm just looking at the comments here on Facebook. Emma Kinney has been doing really great work down in Cape Town on this. And, Harry Newton is talking about some of the ideas of collaboration. I mean, I think all of us are, in a sense, hoping that we will be able to come out of this pandemic stronger. And part of the story is, many of our brothers and sisters, many of our colleagues, many of our friends are going to slip into poverty. That the world, is going through one of the most massive economic, social, political transformations in modern history. The question becomes is, what can we do to support each other, and what can we do to build into that recovery strategy, the right design guidelines, the right values and policy approaches that will build a better future. And that means everything from engaging in artificial intelligence and blockchain discussions to autonomous vehicles to even just looking at issues of informal settlements and slums, and how we're getting services to that last mile, right? So we're in this together. We all share one planet, but we are richer through our diversity, and ultimately we're stronger when we each have the capabilities to live the lives that we value.
Yeah, beautifully put, Victor. Really like that. So how can people support some of your projects or keep up to date with what you're up to? What's the best way for people to follow you?
Sure. So citiesforall.org is the global compacted campaign for building inclusive and accessible cities. You can sign up for that to get updates at some of our events and our webinars. Smart Cities for All was a joint initiative that we did looking at developing tools for building more inclusive, accessible smart cities. And then obviously my organization, World Enabled, that's worldenabled.org, provides an overview of what we're doing. On social media, you can find me at World Enabled on Twitter or on Twitter or Instagram,
That's the one.
and then on LinkedIn, just Victor Pineda.
Brilliant. And are there any publications coming out? Any books in the pipeline?
Yeah, actually, thank you. I just published and haven't yet had a chance to launch my book called Building the Inclusive City, which really talks about my experience in shaping the Dubai disability law and policy. But I provide an excellent kind of framework that colleagues can use to sort of shape their own responses, even locally within their own cities. So that book is called Building the Inclusive City. And I left the link here. We did make a, thanks to a donation by Ambassador Taiba, you can download the PDF and the book free of charge on your smart reader or as a PDF. And I provided that link so that people can download that effort.
Okay. I've put all these links in the chat box. I think it's saying they've gone to my YouTube, Twitter, and the Purple Goat Agency Facebook page. They're not on my personal one, but I'll add them after we finish anyway.
Fantastic. Yeah, this was a really great conversation, Martin. You know, you're an example of building that better future, because by engaging folks in a dialogue, you're actually creating, you know, in the way that you can create it, you're creating that momentum, right? And that's what we need. We need momentum.
Yeah, no, I think that's been the power of blogging and social media, is it's given our community a voice when we didn't always have a voice. And I think we've been able to connect around the world like we are today, and we're able to share ideas and start to create solutions. And I think we're at a point where we're trying to get these solutions embedded into business, into government, even into charity sector where it's still needed. And I think it's exciting where we're heading, but it feels like there's a lot of work to do, and I feel like we're up for the task as well.
Well, I think that all of your participants should have a reunion stream where we have Shanti and we have you know, the conversations on VR, or maybe Sam Reinke.
Yeah,
Others all join in and sort of have a more of a more brainstorming session of what we can do together.
that would be amazing. Let's do that. That sounds like a good plan. Well, listen, my friend, thank you for joining me. I know that there's been a nice number of people joined us live, and I know that many more are going to watch this back on the replay. And obviously, if you've got questions for myself and Victor, just write on the comments. I'll keep an eye if there's anything to pass on to you afterwards as well, Victor. And yeah, I just keep doing what you're doing. You really inspire me every day. And I look forward to hearing more from you soon.
Excellent, Bart. Great work. Talk to you soon.
Cool. Take care. Bye-bye.